Oh, hello, Joanne. How are you?
Oh, hi there, Clinton. How are you?
Very well. Thank you very much. How's your Monday treating you?
Oh, look, it's the start of National Skin Cancer Action Week, so I'm really at the start of a busy week for me.
I can imagine. I can imagine. What's first on the agenda for the week?
TradiePad, talking
Yeah.
to your lovely audience, Clinton. So yeah, let's get you guys started with letting your industry know a little bit more about their hazards out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very, very relevant and very scary thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Well, they just had the cricketer on the TV there, Michael Clark, who's had 6 melanomas removed. Now, he's quite a young lad, but he's had six
wow.
melanomas removed from his face and his back. So, yeah, it's Australia's cancer.
It really
We
is.
own the title.
What's a bit of your background? How did you get involved?
So I found a danger son overhead when I lost my husband to melanoma in 2009. He was only 43, but he was a tradie. He was a plasterer carpenter by trade and
Mhm.
went to work all the time in short sleeve shorts and short sleeve shirts. I don't know if he really went with his shirt off, but let's just say the measures there for protection weren't there. But he
Mm.
had a mole removed from the back of his leg, which he said it was okay, and that was around 1993.
Yeah.
So fast forward to 2006. We had our first two children. They were only 2 and 1, and we found a lump in his right groin area. And the youngest two, they were 2 and 1, they jumped on his leg, and we found this lump. And that's when we were first diagnosed with melanoma. So that was in 2006. Back in 2006, that's when they say, look, fingers crossed it doesn't come back. Can't offer you any more treatment because there is no treatment. So we kind of thought in the prime of our time we're fine. But anyway, it came back in vengeance, and we got the news on New Year's Eve of 2008 that my husband had 3 months to live.
Oh, wow. Sorry
Yeah.
to hear that. That's horrible.
That's okay. So I found a danger son overhead in his legacy because he actually was an organiser with the CFME union,
Yes.
and he actually recognised that when it came to sun exposure in the outdoor industries, we were just paying no attention to it. And it is a workplace hazard, and there are policies in place to protect our workers and managers and owners. So yeah, we've kind of really got to act on it now because, as we've already mentioned, it's Australia's leading cancer.
And so tell me, how does Sun Overhead work as an organisation? What do you do? How do you spread the word?
Sure. So look, we've had lots of promotions out there, and if you look at the promotional activity around the slip, slop, slap, and the campaigns to wear, protective wear and wear our sunscreen, etc., you would think that the message is getting through, but unfortunately, just with the latest statistics that have just come through from our health minister in Queensland here. 1 in 2 people are still getting burnt, or 1 in 2 people last year still got burnt. And I've got those in Queensland alone that accounted to 54% were adults and 394,000 were children. So so it's really high stats. So yeah, it had 2.1 million adults and 394,000 children still got burnt last year.
Mm.
So the promotion doesn't work. So Danger Sun Overhead works because we educate. So I'm not going to come and educate you on what you already know. I'm going to educate you on what you don't know, and what you don't know will help you make those decisions. Yeah.
Awesome. You're very much aligned with what we do with TradiePad, because we're an education organisation, training organisation, teaching how to use technology. So yeah, it's just another bit of education that we need in the workplace, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think we need to sort of jump on, which actually this is the first time I've done one of these crosses, Clinton.
Yeah.
I've done lots of media interviews, but I haven't used social media live, so you just might have planted a seed in my head there.
Fantastic. Well, we've been using Zoom for years, and it's a great way to have the video meeting, and then streaming to Facebook Live is fantastic. We've got a few viewers tuning in now, having a listen, but it also goes into our activity feed, and it's just more content, and it's more information, educating people about what the options are that are out there. So what's some things that we can do to be sun smart on site, and any suggestions on some things that
Absolutely.
we can do this week?
Yeah. Look, absolutely, Clinton, because ultimately, in the end, like I was saying before, we know about the six soft slabs. So I'm just going to take you on a little tour behind me here. This is a UV station board that I have. Now, if we were to ask work sites if they have UV stations, or the workers, do they know where their UV stations are? Nobody knows where they are. So it's one of those things that through policy, we are sort of meant to provide safety measures on site. So this is my UV sunscreen board. And just to sort of give you an example of what we don't know, it's ultraviolet radiation that causes skin cancer. We always think about sun, but it's actually the ultraviolet radiation, and we have different levels that come down during the day. Now I'm just going to show you a quick method of what you can do each day. On my phone, I have an app called the SunSmart app. SunSmart. If I click on that SunSmart app, I can put down its Cancer Council app. I can get my daily UV alert, and for Brisbane, it says to me it's between 7:30 a.m. and 3:40 p.m. So on my board here, each day, I would write up for my workers to know that between 7:30 a.m. and 3:40 p.m. is when I need to protect myself. Now it's going to reach a level of 12, which the board goes up to 11, but I'm going to put that right at the end there because it's extreme. So the boys will know, or the workers will know, when they come to work today between 7:30 a.m. and 3:40 p.m, I need to put sun safety measures in place. If I do not, I'm at risk of developing skin cancer and causing injury to my skin. That's just one example.
That's perfect. Something that I mean, in my years on site, I never saw anything like that. You know, no. We didn't have anything. We didn't have any kind of visibility of.
No, and another. Yeah, and that's right. And then another thing we do is so that just looking to your left or right, I've got my core flutes then. So where you've got the sunscreen station, if the core flutes are going up around the place, that can encourage reuse of or reapplication of sunscreen, which is another thing we're really, really bad at.
Yeah, I love your signage and your branding. It's so relevant.
For the tradies, it is, yeah. I had a gentleman say to me once, it says everything. Well, once you see me, you'll know everything that is meant behind the signage. So yeah, so it's about, we really do need to start putting measures in place, because, you know, look, I've got 4 boys that I'm raising on my own, and you know, it's time we put measures in place. And going into long sleeve, which I'm going to say is the top of my priority, or the top of my behaviour of change, long sleeve is what's going to protect your workplace. I can't stress that enough. The mindset that it's hot. Well, we live in Australia. Our summers are hot. You can't avoid it. But I can guarantee you, if you switch your mindset to the long sleeve, you'll see how much cooler it is, because that ultraviolet radiation isn't damaging your skin, burning your skin.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And so tell me a little bit more about your services that you offer around the education, and I mean, just thinking about that board, the UV board that you've got there, as an employer, there's legal obligations around what type of communication and education you should be providing to your workers. So how can you help? How can you help our clients that are looking for a bit more guidance with it?
Well, and no offence to the business managers, but you standing up in front of your workers telling them to do something, you're not going to get the action. So sometimes you kind of need that outside help to make that happen, to change that behaviour. We come onto the site, we see what the site's knowledge is behind sun exposure, and then we'll take them through the education. By the end of that education, they'll answer the same questions again to see if they've actually collected that information. So we do look at things like, well, how does ultraviolet radiation affect the skin? You know, what sort of skin cancers are caused? When and how does that happen? Like I've just already shown you briefly there, what is UV radiation? What do the levels mean? What do I need to do in those levels as far as protection goes? And what time of the day is it? And then we have to look at, well, for a lot of us, I don't know about you, Clinton, the damage has already been done. So if you're from the area aware, you've been burnt once. If you've been burnt once in your lifetime, then you are at risk of developing skin cancer. So we need to start looking at, well, what is your risk? So in the program, we'll take you through a risk assessment questionnaire that will categorize you into a risk of developing skin cancer, and then what you need to, or how you need to act once you know what your risk is. And then we'll give you a bit of a tip where you can go to get diagnosed, not diagnosed, hopefully not diagnosed, but where you can go to get checked, and go to and get checked. And then because we take a holistic approach, it just doesn't stop there. If you are diagnosed, it can be mentally traumatic. So I have a close association with Mates in Construction. So I promote their services as far as prevention of suicide. Then we look at where you can get legal help to either right wills, access your superannuation, etc. Some cases may be compensatable, so you may be able to get that sort of information. Where you can get protective clothing, look, it's a holistic approach of support. I mean, if you are diagnosed, what support agencies are out there to help you through your diagnosis? So we take a full 360 holistic approach. So yeah, we're going to tell you to slip, slop, slap, but we're going to tell you how, why, when, you know, prevent and support available.
There's like very much needed service in the industry. And do you, you're Queensland based, do you just service Queensland, or you're all over Australia?
All over Australia, so wherever the works. I've just had I've just last week I had inquiries from New Zealand and Northern Territory. So yes, no, we travel all over. So and look, what we do like to do, and I mean, look, one of the hardest businesses to try and crack as far as outdoor industry goes are the smaller consumers, or the smaller businesses, because one, they can't afford the time to stop, you know, drop tools and stop work. But you know, this is where you can sort of like take opportunities, like guys like yourself, like if you're having safety hubs, bring us in as a speaker to your safety hub so that we can talk to your management, give them tools, you know, give them a control measures of how they can measure their sun safety on site, which is another service we offer.
Right. And so what's it, and I was just going to ask that about the smaller businesses. You know, when I was plumbing, I was in a business, we had 4 or 5 guys, you know, and I'm thinking, we were on site, we'd go to a construction site, but you'd only be there for a day or a couple of days at a time. So how does a business like that, or like a trade business where you might only have a small amount of workers, could maybe a few businesses get together and have some type of event? Or
I'll give you a model that I'm working with at the moment in Queensland here. One of my major sponsors for the construction industries here in Queensland, BERT, Builders Employees Redundancy Trust, they sponsor my program to be delivered to their members. So wherever there's an EBA site which has contractors on site to come and do the work, the education is going to those sites. That's just an example of how we sort of address the construction industries. I highly suggest that I've got a training centre as well here in Queensland that's inviting different industries to come to a safety webinar or seminar next week that I'm speaking at. So there's ways around it that we can, you know, get to that audience if we can, because I don't want them to miss out, and it's unrealistic coming to 5 people, which I will do, but when it comes to affording 5 people for an education program, that's probably where we sort of back away a little bit, and I don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Maybe some online delivery like we're doing today might be.
There you go. Look, I'll get you onto that, Lindsay.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Joanne. Any final information about maybe some contact details?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a website, www.dangersunoverhead.org.au. So that's www.dangersunoverhead.org.au. We too do have a Facebook page as well. Look, just head over there. Look, if not for the education, let's just start getting signage up on site. You know, let's get your UV stations, let's get your core flutes up on site. Let's start the conversation, because yeah, look, we're in a high industry. I want my workers in the outdoor industries to go home to their family, because when you don't, yeah, you missed. So
yeah. One last little thing that popped into my mind there, is there any type of government-backed assistance for courses or education or anything like this for the subject?
No, and I think that's why you'll find that like the workplace health and I do know that workplace health and safety in Queensland here has jumped into changing their sun safety policies, and they're trying to cement that within outdoor industries. I'm fairly certain. Well, I do know WorkSafe Australia are the same. They've changed their policies, and part of those policies are sort of inviting people like myself in to do that education for you. So ideally, like there's plenty of promotional out there that you can achieve, but when it comes to the education, that's where it's not quite there. But I think that's why the success of Danger Sun Overhead is there, is that it does offer that education. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, very good. Thank you, Joanne. You're doing a fantastic job. Very impressed.
Thanks, Clinton. Thanks very much.
Thanks for your time.
Contact us at www.dangersunoverhead.org.au.
Perfect. We'll put all the links into the Facebook message as well, and I'll put a link up to the SunSmart app. That's great. I love apps.
You'll find it on my you will find it on my webpage too. We've got it going up there on our webpage, changing daily. And just one more note, Clinton. We've been 10 years, or I've been 10 years at the Danger Sun Overhead program. We've got a goal to reach 50,000 attendees by the end of this year. We've got like 9,500 to go. So it'd be great if you could all hook in.
Big goal. That's awesome.
Yes, get your workshops booked in so we can reach that 50,000 by the end of the year.
Perfect. All right, we'll get the word out there. Thank you, Joanne.
Thanks, Clinton.
Enjoy the week. Good job.
You. Bye.
Thank you.